Hello, everyone, and hello, world. What a joy it is to simply be here with you today. I am so thrilled that we're doing this call today. It is a fabulous, fabulous day in the language of the stars. So, if we have time during the last 30 minutes of the call, I'll tell you more about what I mean by that. But right now, it's my deepest, deepest joy to welcome Holly Woods back to do her call, totally focused on, not totally, but mostly focused on her life.
Mm,
And oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to you, Holly.
mm,
You have just meant the world to me.
mm,
And I realized when I looked for your birth date that you're just 1 year younger than my son.
mm,
So that even made me feel closer to you.
mm,
And I'm so
mm.
thrilled that we're doing this together. What a gift it is. What a joy it is. What an amazing world this is. And it's feeling more and more and more and more like that for me as we have gone through a relatively tough time in this country and are still in it for another 75 days. Sure looking forward to those midterm elections coming. And I'm seeing people that I've known from so long ago. Eric, welcome, welcome, Eric. I want to interview you as a spotlight guest one of these days. It's just fabulous to see people that have been anchors in your life, people that have been there for you when you didn't always know how to be there exactly for yourself. And that for me has been true with you, Holly, and I think I've been that for you. We have a history of that. It's like Ram Dass said, we walk each other home.
Just a quick reflection, Marge. What appears um what I am aware of today that maybe I wasn't aware of when we met is how significantly we need different anchors in different phases of our life. As we become more awake and aware and evolve and enter new phases in which new challenges are present and new hurdles appear and which new discoveries are meant to occur, we're going to need new and different people who've either traveled or are traveling those parts of their journey. And it feels to me like, I would say you've been ahead of me, certainly. And there's some way that we reinforced for each other. We weaved. What's the right way to say
We,
that? We were weavers of that phase together and walked a particular path together that was incredibly profound and significant. At least I'll say for me that I was so grateful to have you in my life, still am, and realized how I could not have made that part of my journey without you.
uh,
And so just deep gratitude and appreciation. And I still love having you in my life. You still fill an important spot in my own evolution and awareness.
so, Holly, is your mother still alive?
No, she died more than 20 years ago, and
Okay,
it
now
was
I'm
never
going
that was
to
never that person. So you're not a replacement for my mother. Like,
I'm going to invite you to let me be your
yes,
soul mom.
yeah, you are for sure. You play a role in my life, both maternal, but also um, a wise elder, a philosopher, a co-conspirator, an explorer. Like we feel a lot of those roles together. So I would never just say you've been a maternal figure for me. It's so much more than that.
It's incredible,
Mhm,
absolutely incredible. And I want to do the invocation, which is so significant for me. It's based on the invocation that was written by Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. I've changed a few words here and there, but let's do that now together. I am in the flow now of pure being, one presence and one power. I am immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, of love, and of wisdom. I acknowledge your presence and your power, O blessed Spirit, and now dissolve, erase our human limitations. And from this pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to your perfect plan.
mm,
And that just reminds me so much of the promise that I have said every day for over 50 years, two or three times a day, at least once or twice in the morning and once or twice in the evening, usually silently, because lots of times I'm around people that wouldn't understand it. But my heart, my soul understands it. And it starts out with words that are very similar. Once I have accepted God's plan as the one function that I would fulfill, there will be nothing else the Holy Spirit will not arrange for me
mm,
without my effort.
mm,
And then it ends up saying, I need take thought for nothing, careless of everything except, and it's a huge except, the only purpose that I would fulfill.
mm,
And for me, that purpose is love. And I base that on the greatest commandment spoken by Jesus when they were trying to challenge him. And Holly, you and I have both been challenged many, many times in our lives,
mhm,
over and over again. Jesus was asked, which of the commandments is the greatest? Like the question that I sometimes relate to relative to integral. Is it involution or is it evolution?
mhm,
And here's the answer. The greatest commandment is
mm,
to love the beloved with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul, and to love each other, one another, your neighbors as yourself. That includes your small s self. It includes your capital S self. It is yourself in whatever evolving stage you are in. Spirit descends to embrace you, to love you,
mm,
and guide you through. And so I'm so, so grateful that you're all here with us today.
mm,
And how beautiful it is, how wonderful it is. And Holly Woods, I loved what I said about you in the announcement letter. Um, you have been a way shower, and that's
mm,
one of the things that make you so important in my life. You have sometimes been there to show me the way. And I think of you as not only an amazing soul, but a brilliant soul.
mm,
I think you probably have a higher IQ than I do. Not to compare,
Mhm.
But because I see that brilliance in you, you're beautiful. You're beautiful now, just like you were in your teenage years. You're an experiential learner, and your third book is all about experiential learning. That was the one I wanted to read in the pre editing status. I didn't even want to read the intellectual one. You're a passionate visionary, just like I am. Really a passionate visionary. And when you look at life with people, you include stories, their story, their unique love story,
Mhm.
just as I have done.
Mhm.
How beautiful that is for me. But you don't just include stories, you also, as I do, include research. We both have doctoral degrees, which is evidence for us of that commitment to research and education. We're both committed, really deeply committed to education and models for education. And you create them, and the
Mhm.
portal is one of them. Oh, Holly, it is absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
And so I love your headshot picture that we used in the header. I look at that and think, oh my God, she's still as beautiful as she was in high school, maybe more so. So let's explore. And this, you used this phrase, and I've used it many times,
Mhm.
living your life as if you were in a petri dish. What
Mhm.
does that mean to you?
I didn't, and I just want to say thank you, Marge. I feel so honored to be here with you and with all of us. Um, I hope this is a conversation, not just about me. I have a lot of tears in my eyes. I apologize showing up this way. I'm extremely open and vulnerable in the moment. I just did 2 hours with the Living Portal participants as we're wrapping up the year. I'm helping them harvest their experiences, and I'm kind of blown away. I'm always blown away at life, and maybe that's related to the petri dish. And it's certainly related to my own sense of being an explorer and adventurer and a participant in life. I don't ever stand outside. I'm in the petri dish. And the thought of a petri dish didn't occur to me until I got remarried to a man who had 2 children, and I helped raise his stepchildren. So, this all in retrospect. I had 2 of my own daughters who were younger, and he had 2 sons who were older. And it wasn't till later in my awareness about my role in helping our soul find its path, its purpose, and latest expression that I began to see that, oh my gosh, I put myself so perfectly in this marriage, even though the marriage itself wasn't even the thing. I didn't derive for the marriage. I arrived for this petri dish experience of raising 2 sets of children and getting to witness and explore and dissect and deconstruct their experiences with the early life I'd given them. And not that I was a perfect mother, but my intent was always, I am here in service of you. I am here for you to find yourself. I am here to find your essence. And I did like that was my focus, is like, I want to help you find yourself. That was the thing I did well. So many things I didn't. And the other 2 children hadn't had that. They had been more raised in conformist, alignment with societal parental expectations. And I watched these 2 sets of children, and it's like, oh my God, I've got a clinical trial or a petri dish going. We're all in it. And I get to watch what's happening and under the the microscope. And so I realized my entire life has been as a participant explorer, a participant observer, and I studied one of the things I studied in my doctoral program was anthropology, and I learned to become an anthropologist in my own life, which has really helped me use everything. I know you do that also, is like we're here in this petri dish of life. And I want to be witnessing, oh my God, look at that change. And how can I use it, even though it hurt and it was painful? And I did a little bit of suffering, unfortunately, but I'm going to use it to become the next version of me. So that's kind of what Petri dish means to me. I've always been a freak, nerd, scientist type. Um, yeah, in a nutshell.
It is. And I think of a petri dish, of course, that is a scientific term. The petri dish is how scientists look at all of the elements of what works and what doesn't work and identify the pluses and the minuses. And, and I look at the petri dish of my own life, and I've loved all of my life from my childhood, my birth family, my Seventh day Adventist roots, which is very fundamentalist and rigorous and rule structured. But I learned the Bible better than anyone in my ministerial school class. What a gift that was. How fortunate, how blessed I was to be able to understand the Bible because I sat through Bible classes in school 5 days a week and and on Saturdays. So it's fascinating. So let's take a trip through your childhood
Mm,
and let's look at, you were born in Texas. And the fascinating thing about where you were born is that am I right this night? Baytown, Texas?
right. So I didn't actually live on a ranch in Texas. Baytown was that was my parents moved to a ranch when I was early adulthood, but I grew up in Baytown, which claim to fame was the largest petrochemical plant in the world. It was the home of Exxon Chemical, which like who would choose that? And of course it was a part of my petri dish, like your background and learning the Bible. I grew up in a particular context that was the foundation of my existence, and from which I sprang and also fought against. Some of us, the primary um, blessing of our childhood context is, oh, I had great fodder against which to push. So,
That's really important.
mhm.
And you were born in November, and does that make you a
Deep,
Scorpio?
a deep Scorpio. Like, if you had to say who's Holly, she's like, she is a Scorpio.
And my mother was a Scorpio, and so was my first husband. And that's been a polarity that I've never quite been able to manage.
Wow. Yeah. I bless my dad's heart. I didn't realize this until later, is my father, Taurus, had three female Scorpios, his wife and two daughters. It's like,
Wow.
who would do that to themselves? He was way more stable and solid, and the foundation upon which we could rail and grow and push. And he's always been that. He's as Taurus as a Taurus comes. um,
It's fascinating, utterly, utterly fascinating. One of the people that has said yes to being a Starlight guest, we haven't said a date yet, is the author of Life by the Stars.
hmm,
And I'm really looking forward to that. And but let's talk a little bit more about this picture number one and this picture. Tell us about that one.
so the middle child of three girls. um, and you had asked me to find photographs that, that I had a heartstring to that brought me joy. Um, and I'm going to cry here. Um, Loved my sisters, and just was very close to my sisters. We were all we all experienced quite a bit of abuse in childhood. My eldest sister experienced the brunt of it. She was first, very young mother, very unavailable father. Mother was very temperamental, artistic temperament. Um, hadn't received what she needed in childhood to become a loving, nurturing maternal figure. So a lot of our childhood was very chaotic, abusive, difficult. At times, she would show up very loving and nurturing and supportive, and then it would turn into chaos. She was diagnosed as deeply depressive, having studied mental health and disorders and all the things for decades. She would have been classified as manic depressive. So it was very chaotic. I didn't know what love really was as a child. I was very confused. Um, the part of this picture that makes me cry is that my oldest sister eventually did commit suicide in her early 50s. And I think we're going to get to this later if we get to that. But because came in as an explorer, wanted to live the petri dish, I went into science, and then I also dropped into deep, deep introspective inner work. And my sister instead went the route of becoming more conservative and became a born again Christian and never really got the help she needed to overcome our childhood stuff. And so she didn't make it.
Okay,
And,
let's
and so I,
let's talk about your high school years. And uh, I love this picture. And, and I thought, oh, this is part of her life I didn't know about. Tell us about it.
well, um, because of my childhood, and I'm an Enneagram one, and that really reflects many of the clusters of my parts. I do a lot of parts work now. And I've come to understand that so much of my childhood which was related to my karmic past, was about protecting myself, becoming the human who could live within the context of my early life. So all these protector parts showed up, and I became, the perfect child. Like, my sister railed against my parents and became, almost um, a rebellious soul. I don't want to call her a juvenile delinquent because she was doing her best, but it didn't fit within the conformist structure of our social world. And she got in trouble and all kinds of things, or did drugs and alcohol early. And I became the perfect child. I was just going to do everything by the book. So I didn't get in trouble. So I didn't get hit. So I didn't, have all the screaming and yelling, which meant I showed up in every aspect of my life as the young woman who, like, always did exactly what was expected intellectually. I was in I had like 4 or 5 choirs, and just la la la. It was all the story that I had to live. um
So
so by the time I
picture,
got
this picture is when you were named the high school valedictorian, the valedictorian of your high school class.
so I was I was just going
Beautiful.
to say that I never imagined, like, my goal was not to become something. Like, I wasn't in aspiration of becoming a valedictorian or homecoming queen or anything like that. I just showed up like I thought I was supposed to show up. I just did all the things that everybody expected of me, and I did them well. And the end of my senior year, my high school counselor called me into his office, and I thought I was in trouble. He's like, "Holly, do you have any idea that you're in the top 1 or 2 people in your class and you might become valedictorian?" I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He says, well, evidently you've just done really well. Like, I had no idea. And all my friends were so annoyed at me. Like, you didn't even try and you're just smart. Like, dudes, I'm just showing up, doing the best. So it was all kind of a shock, and I was embarrassed and I wanted to hide. And like, I wasn't trying to become this, you know, in front person. I was trying to survive my childhood in some ways.
It's interesting that you used the phrase, all of my friends were annoyed at me. And I have felt that in my young life, but also my adult life. And even now,
Yeah.
I can name the people who are annoyed with me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's because I don't fit into the boxes that they
Mhm.
understand or recognize. But you are also a finalist for the homecoming queen.
Mhm.
You weren't the homecoming queen.
Yeah.
You were a
I did.
finalist.
I did. I mean,
How did you talk about that?
well, I mean, the one of the pictures I shared with you was the one that my dad got to walk me out on the field with my boyfriend of the time and this enormous picture of me. And it meant something. I think it meant more to him than it did to me because my dad was the Torah. He was the strength. He was the foundation. And he of all of my family, like he just saw that like she's this human that's just out there and I'm just going to be the rock. And he was the rock, even though there were, long periods of time, probably 30 years, where I resented him for not being more than the rock. And that's me. Um, I didn't care. I didn't need to be homecoming queen. That didn't matter to me.
We're going to do a huge jump into the future, and then we'll come back to where we were, and this picture has some sadness for you.
Yeah, I think I told that story already, but my Jennifer, who was 2 and almost 3 years older than me, um, and pushed me around and was annoying herself in childhood and slightly abusive because that's what she was getting. She didn't know any different. At some point, the three of us, my two sisters and I, all ended up at the University of Texas together. Jennifer had the very long route of college, and I was on a quick path, and my younger sister had just shown up. And so we'd hang out and we became friends, and I became Jennifer's person. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but at least for my children, like they have a best friend and they call this person my person. It's like your best friend. It's the person you go to no matter what. And I became Jennifer's person, except that rather than sharing in a collaborative, co created dynamic, I became her rescuer because she was already into alcohol significantly, pulled me in a bit, but I was always there for her. And at some point, it became a burden. This was a little bit later, but I, I, I was her person to my detriment, and it became very hard. And I literally had to create a boundary and say, Jennifer, I can't do this for you anymore. It's really hard for me, and it's impinging on my own ability to be in my marriage and raise my children. And so I stopped being her person, and that was close to it precipitated her spiraling down. And so my family blamed me for her death, which was also pretty sad.
It's amazing how blame often comes in.
Yeah.
And so we go through our own experiences of being shamed or blamed. And because we have um, taken a stand that said, I can't do this,
Mhm.
I can't be part of this. If this is your choice, I cannot be there. And so sadness, joy, and sadness are two sides of the same coin. Two
Mhm.
sides of the same coin. And your first marriage, you said, didn't last too long.
Um, well, I think the picture here you have is the marriage with my um,
Second husband, I
yeah,
think.
my children's father. Um, and we called that one, I called that one an outward bound marriage.
All right.
He loved extreme
I
sport.
love, this is you in the picture, I think.
Mhm. Yep, it's
I love that picture. Having lived in the high mountains of Colorado and gone over Trail Ridge many, many times, where you can see many, many different mountaintops. I absolutely adore this picture.
mm.
And tell us about the outward bound marriage.
I think if I were to reflect back on this marriage, I mean, he and I were best buddies. We were outdoor sports partners. Um, and the utility, I have to look at the phases of my life as what did that bring to me rather than, I don't like to consider myself a victim anymore, but that part of my life was important because Steve pushed me to go so far beyond my boundaries of what I thought was possible. We did huge mountaineering trips, Mount Rainier and Grand Teton, all the US, all the US big mountains. We'd rock climbed, we telemark skied, we mountain biked, all the things. And I didn't know I was capable of doing that. I knew intellectually I could push myself, and I was beginning to push myself spiritually. I had no idea my body could could do that. And of course I ruined, soft tissue in my body. That's a whole nother story. But I feel like that experience, I was going to say experiment, um, really helped me gain a new awareness of, oh, what's possible is so far beyond what I can imagine for myself. And it only began to dissolve when we had children, and he was definitely not a parent. And I was really committed to that phase of life. And I was growing and evolving and moving forward. And at one point he said, I don't believe in anything that you are becoming. I don't believe in what you do for work. I don't know who you are. And it just became apparent that, like, oh, we're so far apart now that I don't know how we'll ever bridge this gap, because he wasn't doing the inner work. But it was an important phase of my life.
Tell me about shoveling snow.
Yeah, I told you the story. We lived in rural Boulder County, Coal Creek Canyon at one time, and he traveled a lot for work. So I was at the house about 90% of the time by myself. And it snowed enormously. And one winter, I just, like, the nerd in me, like, how much snow am I shoveling this winter? And I figured out I had shoveled almost 4 tons of snow. It was just ridiculous. I was a little tank. I was very strong.
My father was the owner of a very significant and successful truck line. It was called Britt Truck Service, and it started in Cold Creek Canyon.
Oh, no way. I didn't, if you told me that, I'd forgotten. Wow.
I don't think I told you.
That is wild. Wow.
Intersections in time, and when we
So
discover them and we think, oh my God.
did you live there, or that was before you were born?
No, it was before I was born.
Got it. Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah.
funny.
I lived in Boulder County, and
Mhm.
all of the I was born at the hospital, the Adventist hospital, sanitarium and hospital. My
Mhm.
mother was a nurse. And let's jump into the next picture that um, we're going. I want you to talk about. We,
Mhm.
we have to go back and forth a little bit because this is when your kids are young. So
Mhm.
talk about picture number 5, you and your daughters, Lindsay
Mhm.
and Laurel.
Mhm. I mean, this is one of my favorite pictures. So this is after I divorced their dad, and we lived. The girls still call this their favorite time of life. It was the three of us we were so happy. I don't know what happened. Like, why did we leave this? But I mean, this just so epitomizes them, though. Lindsay is, Laurel has a mischievous look on her face, and Lindsay's kind of laughing, humorous. They are the light of my life. They're just beautiful beings. Um, I say the only reason they chose me is because they would have lots of things to explore about themselves, as I was so imperfect as a mother and gave them lots to work with. And yet loved them unconditionally, and that has, they've always known that, no matter how much I wasn't the perfect mom. They always knew that I loved them beyond reason, and still do, and will always love them in that way. And now I do have amazing relationships with both of them, very adult, co-created relationships. They've pushed me to grow as a human, and basically said, "Mom, you can't mother us anymore. That's not your role. You got to stop that." Which was very
And
hard.
where do they live now?
So Lindsay's in Silverton, which is just an hour north of me, and Durango, and then Laurel is in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
And at one point in time, you actually have mentioned your third marriage and being a step parent
Mhm.
to the children of that marriage,
Mhm.
but that time in your life also ended. This brings up an interesting um, memory that I have. Um, I heard someone being interviewed on a podcast one time who had been married three times, as
Mhm.
I have been, as you have been.
Mhm.
And the interviewer said to her, three times? Why? And she said, oh, I get married instead of just have relationships. And I think that describes that experience for me.
Mhm.
Something in me always said, you don't have these deep kind of
Mhm.
relationships unless it's leading to
Mhm.
marriage.
Mhm.
So, any thoughts on that before we uh,
Yeah.
go through the big shift?
Yeah, I don't tell many people, because of all the judgment and criticism that always arises. Never ever have I told someone I've been married three times without a lot of judgment. And I'm so empathic and psychic that I hear everything anybody thinks. So I'm very careful about what I share and think myself. Um, I think you're right. For me, I've always been a deep lover. I love deeply, with commitment and loyalty and vulnerability. And it's hard to do relationship in other ways. And so when I fell in love, that just felt like the natural next step. Um, since I last divorced, now 14 years ago, I've had many proposals. Like, there's never been a shortage of people I could fall in love with and was in love with, and I've been much more discerning. I've learned enough to know that I can love someone deeply and appreciate who they are and their life journey and their experience, and also know, oh, this is actually not the next thing for me. So it took a few times for me to get it, that, like, I don't have to marry everybody I fall in love with. And I also can love with more discernment. And there be many forms of relationship that fulfill me. The challenge is now I've become so discerning that it's almost like the other side. Like, I'm good. I'm so good. I don't know that I need that at this point. Um, anyway, that's.
There's a scripture in the Bible that I have cherished, and it says, love is written on the heart.
Mhm.
And that's the way I define
Mhm.
the kind of love that leads into levels of deep commitment.
Mhm.
It's written on the heart. If it's not written on the heart, it's human love.
Mhm. Mm,
If it's written on the heart, it's soul love.
mhm,
And pure love is forever.
mhm,
And you continue to love
mhm,
even though you go through the different kinds of stages and experiences of sometimes being together, sometimes separating, as Ed and I have done, coming back together again later in life, neither one of us expecting it.
mhm,
So it's very fascinating. So I want to shift into the next picture, which you and your younger daughter moved to San Francisco.
mhm,
And the reason was to start a new life. And that's where synchronicity begins to happen. And so let's explore some of those phrases. New life, San Francisco, synchronicity happens.
mhm. Well, the actual reason we moved to San Francisco was because I had a middle of the night calling to go to Petaluma, which is just north of San Francisco.
So,
And
what is the middle of the night calling?
I woke up in the middle of the night with voices in my head saying Petaluma, Petaluma, Petaluma. And I'm like, I don't know what a Petaluma is, a person, place, or thing. And it wouldn't stop. So I got up at 3 a.m., Googled Petaluma, and it's this little town in Northern California. And I'm like, you know, what? You want me to go to Petaluma? And I like, what do you want me to do there? Like, I am married. I have children in high school. Like, what is it you want me to do? And I sat with this calling for 2 years before I acted on it. And part of it was, okay, you've given me a vision and I need to explore what that vision is and see if I can live into it. And this is me learning to live into the visions that I receive because I do receive a lot of visions now. And I guess I always had, I just didn't know that they were visions and I didn't know you could live into them. But anyway, I started exploring. I discovered that in the Bay Area, there is a lot of stuff that was really calling me and my soul to come have experiences. And so ultimately, I got connected to Bay Area Integral, which was started by Terry Patton. I became a part of the network. And then when it came time to end the marriage, had been dissolving for years. And Lindsay went off to college. Laurel heard about my dream and like, Mom, we're supposed to go to California. I want to go. Let's do it. And so she and I moved to California, not knowing why we were moving. And so 9 days after we arrived in the Bay Area, I went to an event put on by Bay Area Integral, met Terry Patton, met all the people. Stephen Dinan came up to me and said, "You're the person that just moved because of a Petaluma calling." And I'm like, "I am." And 4 weeks later, he hired me, and I stepped into the Shift Network, and like, a whole life just blew up.
Tell us
So,
briefly of what the Shift Network has represented for you.
so it was. I mean, it was one of the original platforms for online platforms for personal and spiritual development work. And what I became the director of education and then ultimately a vice president of transformational learning. Um, and it represented for me this opening, like the universe is like, okay, you've been trying to find your way, but you've been doing it too slowly. We're gonna like shove it down your neck now, and you're gonna have all of these experiences. So I met hundreds and hundreds of spiritual teacher, and I was the primary liaison for helping them build their courses and find their way into the network. And it was, awakening by fire hose and exploration of what does it mean to be a spiritual being and or a teacher. And I realized, many experiences, which, um, it was literally this massive shift in what was possible for me as a living as a human and like
Love your
everything.
phrase, awakening by a fire hose.
I've had a lot of those. Yeah. Hook or crook, we're going to wake you up, woman. Yes, it was a good experience. I part of that was also exploring the humanity of many of these teachers, and it really dragged me into shadow work because I could see both the gift of the teacher and, oh, yeah, you're a human and you got all this stuff and it just doesn't show up on the screen, or, it's behind the curtain. And I could see the significance of the shadow effect on their work because, at that time, this was a while ago now, um, most spiritual teachers were not doing shadow work at all, and I was becoming coach. I'd been doing shadow work and I could see the things that they weren't noticing, and so it became really apparent to me that spirituality is not just awakening and ascendance and transcendence. It's actually about becoming a better human. And so it really opened a lot of doors for me about who I would become.
And along the way, you met Terry O'Fallon, as
Hmm.
I did. And went to one of her very, very early workshops. She
Hmm.
wasn't even a workshop speaker, it was a preliminary gathering, sort of a test run that they
Right.
were doing at a university in Northern California. And I was there, and she and her brother, Kim Barta,
Hmm. Hmm.
were co-teaching together for, I think, the very first or second time.
I think it was their first time, and it was actually San Diego. Um,
Well, that Northern California was before San Diego because I was part of bringing her to San
oh,
Diego.
so I wasn't at that one though. I
Okay.
think did you host that one? I can't remember.
I
Or
was
you
going
went.
to bring her to Unity of Tustin, and we decided to join it with San
Got it.
Diego.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. It was profound. And help me, March. Did you and I meet at Terry O'Fallon's thing first, or did we have the collective evolutionary experience first? I can't replace which.
It was, I think, Terry O'Fallon first.
Okay.
Um, I
Yeah. And
although it's still blurry for me. Everything sort of
it's a
runs
few years ago.
together.
Yeah.
And Patricia Albert came in along the way.
Yep. Yep.
And that brings in me into feelings of, oh my God, a betrayal.
Yep. We had some
So-
experiences together. Working with, but learning through Terry became a really important part of both of our journeys.
And that was, of course, related to stages of
Mhm,
consciousness and
mhm,
the evolution of consciousness through the
mhm,
stages, which was based on Ken Wilber's work. And she went beyond where Ken Wilber was
mhm,
with her research.
mhm,
She's meticulous. I want
mhm,
to invite her to come on sometime. I hope
mhm,
she'll accept. And maybe when her new book comes out.
mhm,
And uh, I dearly love Terry, and Terry and I have co-taught together.
mhm,
So she is absolutely wonderful. And before I ever heard of her, uh, three different people, three is the number that I pay attention to. Three different people said to me, "You sound just like Terry O'Fallon. Know
Interesting.
her." And I didn't. I'd never met
Mhm,
her, didn't know of her even. And the third time it happened, I decided I needed to find out. And I signed up for that one at the university, and I contacted her and said, "This has been happening to me. I need to know
mhm,
more about what you do and who you are."
mhm,
And she emailed me right back and she said,
mhm,
take my inventory.
mm,
I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was, but I just took it.
mhm.
And then I forgot I took it. And several weeks later, she called me again. And this was when Ron, my beloved from childhood, had died. And I was in deep grief and recovering from my left brain going offline. And it was amazing because she said, I had sent you the results of your inventory and I haven't heard from you.
Mm,
And I think we should talk. You scored in very high ranges. And I had no idea what that even meant.
mm,
And so that was my beginning with Terry. And I
mhm,
went to the thing at the university, met her for the very first time, invited her, to, as I often did, come to Unity of Tustin. And that's when she said, I think we've got an invitation from San Diego. Why don't we
mm,
join them? And she was very significant in my life.
mhm. Same. Yeah, I used her framework for my first book as a framework around which we can explore what purpose looks like. But talking about synchronicities, I think the fact that you and I are both such deep explorers, we ended up in similar networks and exploring similar concepts and constructs and ways of seeing the world that, of course, we would show up in each other's lives um, magically and continue to be explorers together.
And then her brother, Kim,
Hmm.
became a significant
Hmm.
person in exploring shadow work and is still that significant person.
Hmm.
You saw him at the IONS
Hmm.
conference.
Icon. Yep.
All right, so let's go to the next picture, which happens to be you and your three daughters. And this one is now.
Well, actually, this might be closer to 8 years ago. Yeah, just a lovely picture. Lindsay would be visiting from I think she was still in Washington, D.C. at this time, and Laurel and I lived in the Bay Area. And so we would kind of all fly back and forth to have time together. And, I'd say the three of us were kind of like the three musketeers. I don't anymore consider myself, in a parent role because they are such beautiful, wise, talented adult humans that I value their insights and teachings for me probably more than they value mine. So I love being with them, separate or together. And they're very unique and different. And um, they don't appreciate each other like I appreciate their uniquenesses, but hopefully that will change. But yeah, they're
Washington, D.C.
well,
What,
Lindsay went to school at American University in DC. She is now and then she moved back to Boulder and now she's in Silverton. So she's very close.
and uh, your other daughter?
Laurel is in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
life
they're
continues.
my soulmate. Like you think about soulmates as a partner that you find or a best friend or whatever. I think my children are my
Yeah.
soulmates. Like I can't imagine living this life without them. They've they've been that significant, and I will do everything I can to continue building our relationship.
I know my son is in that soul relation
Mm,
category, and he died in 2004. So it's more than 20 years ago.
mm,
And yet he still talks to me,
mm,
comes and if I'm feeling like I don't know what to do, often he
mhm,
comes through and says, I'm here with you, Mom. Stop worrying
mm,
about it.
mm, Sweet.
I got you here.
That's sweet. Love that.
And then I love this picture. Um, this is a more recent one. This is
Mhm,
picture number 8.
mhm,
You were invited uh, to be a keynote presenter at ICON,
mhm,
which is the Integral Conference of North America. And your topic was evolutionary leadership and radical human coherence. So that is this is a very recent one, and tell us about it.
Well, that isn't the topic. I'm not sure. I think that was the topic of the conference itself.
Oh, okay.
But that's fine. And I don't even remember the name of my topic. I mostly spoke about my new work of radical wholeness, um, which is a multidisciplinary parts work that helps us integrate the both the lifetime wounding and karmic threads in order for us to become whole enough to allow the life force that's meant to live through us, our soul expression, to emerge fully so that we can be coherent internally and then externally coherent with the world and amplify our full soul's expression as source creators. So I told how I came about that work and a little bit about the methods and what it looks like in practice and um, in real life. That was, and I was kind of shocked to be invited to be a keynote speaker because it's so non-typical for integral conferences. And um, I was put on the main stage the first day, and it was quite an experience to be there with, more typical integral speakers, Craig Hamilton and John, what's his last name? Anyway, and it was fun. Like whatever. They may not have me back, but it's all good.
It's absolutely amazing how we have had these connections with so many of the same people, and I
Mhm,
love that. Uh,
mhm,
it tells me that there are soul tribes,
mhm. Yeah,
and
for sure.
sometimes we move away from them and we move back toward them and we move higher or deeper. And one of the things that I realized in my journey is that I've always had this um, involution, evolutionary kind of awareness, and it includes vastness as well as higher and deeper. And I always felt that some of that was missing in some
Mhm,
of the frameworks. And
mhm,
I think you have it in your frameworks.
mhm,
And, and I stopped taking some of the courses that I
mhm,
had taken multiple levels of because that didn't feel like it was honoring of what I recognized as and called dancing all of the colors of the
mhm,
rainbow. And we're going to do another jump into a recent photograph. And this was your trip. I had originally
mhm,
invited you to do an earlier call, and you said, "Oh, I can't. I'm doing a trip with my daughter." And
mhm,
this is that trip.
mhm.
And tell me about the trip with your
With Laura.
daughter Laurel.
Yeah.
You're visiting Prague.
So it's what's fascinating is I had never been to Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. Um, and my ancestors on my mother's side are all from that area of East Central Europe. Um, and Laurel said, "Mom, we need to go." She had never been to Europe, and I became the person she wanted to go with. And how does a mother say no to your daughter's request to go on a vacation? And she wanted to go to Prague because she wanted to go to my ancestral and her ancestral home. And like how fascinating that your daughter wants to explore. It was such an honor. We loved Prague. Probably would go back. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been. But we were there for about a week, and one of the nights out, walk everywhere, the whole town, and we just gone to dinner, and we were walking back to our Airbnb, and we're walking along this gorgeous river that's the middle of town, and this double rainbow appears. Like, what? Are you kidding me? So we just like it was such a it was like a just massive celebration of life. And this was just the silly picture we took. It was just a representation of the magnificence of the magic of life, like, wow. Who gets that?
I've seen double rainbows several times in my life, and I think they're very, very significant. And to me, they represent multiple dimensions
Mm,
existing simultaneously. It's all of it in more than one dimension.
mm, mm.
Huge.
I,
So
I I have experienced a lot of double rainbows this year. I don't know about you or the rest of you. Like it feels like, wow, what are all the double rainbows right now? It's crazy.
and one final picture that I want to cover before we move toward um, uh, a pause and then go into the oh my God moments and questions and answers. Uh, and uh, many people participating. And um, now, this is the final picture, and this one is about your three books. So you did something differently than I did. I put three books in one, and you have three books. I actually wrote an endorsement for the first book, and
Mm,
it's about the golden thread and purpose, the spiral.
mhm. I don't know what you want me to say about these.
Whatever you want to say.
Stuff just comes in and comes through, and I've I've always been a writer, but it's mostly been, short articles and essays and just things I write to figure things out. Like stuff comes in and like, I don't know what this is about, and I have to write about it to organize it. And like, oh, now it has meaning. And so for me, writing has always been that. And these books, and some more that I'm writing are expressions coming through that are much bigger and more complete. And like I literally the golden thread came in and like, you're supposed to write a book now. I'm like, okay, really? What is it supposed to be about? And it became actually working with Terry. I came at that very first workshop we were at together. I came home after that week long or however long it was, and came home and wrote this massive Google spreadsheet of, Terry's model and purpose. And like, oh my God, I didn't even think about all this stuff before. And so I started using it in my work, and I'd been using it for like a decade before, not a decade, but at least for some years before the book downloaded through me. And so that's how the first one started. And these others, like I have four more drafts of books that just stuff just flows through. And I call it the fire hose of creativity because I've reached a place where my, whole enough, never done, and I'm totally aligned with my soul, though more expressions keep coming and my life force is amplified. And that turns into this fire hose of creativity.
Yeah.
And for me, some of that is books. I write and write and write. And and so there's only so much you can actually publish in a year. So these two came out this year, and there are others that are being written. um, and this is the Radical Wholeness books are about the first pillar of my living portal work. And Radical Wholeness primer is the methods, the constructs, the concepts, the frameworks about the pillar itself and why this matters, that it's an extension of parts work. It's an advancement of IFS, which some of you may know about. And it's really reclaiming our parts from across time and space. And so that's the first part of the work we do in the living portal. And the field notes is literally what does it look like in a human life? So it is the stories of people's experience in their lives and my life. Um,
And one of the things I loved about the field notes, that was my preference. I didn't
mm,
even want to read the first one.
yeah.
But my preference was to read the field notes. And it's like that's where, for me, it just resonates, it dances dancing all of the colors of the
Mhm.
rainbow. And you include research and you include education, but most of all, you relate it to everyone's
Mhm.
story.
Mhm.
And then everything is softened
Mm.
and held gently, just gently held
Mm.
in what you call an attuned presence.
Mm.
Be present in the presence.
Mm.
And I remember when I was, before I came to Kansas City, um, before I started Called My Love Institute online, and then in the early stages of it, wondering what's next, what's next, what's next. And I would ask in prayer. And the only answer I got for 3 years, 3 years, was be present in the presence.
Mm.
No other answer. No doing anything.
Mm.
Just be present. And then at one point in time, I get a call from Ed
Mm.
when my brother died, and I was in Colorado. And Ed said, I just got a download. It's not a word he uses. I paid attention. I just got a download. It's time for you to come back to Kansas City.
Mm.
And here I am. And figuring out what I'm here for is the next piece.
I think what you just described is foundational for allowing our, our own magic to appear. As for we've lived in the material paradigm for so long that most of us tend to think that I can produce the next thing by thinking about it and creating it and building it. And that is certainly one way our world has created this dilemma. And what has, arrived through me is a full awareness like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just showing up, being present, and everything that really matters to me that is of any consequence, that is of any benefit either to me or to others comes through me. Like I can't even envision it. I certainly can't create it and I can't build it. So why don't I just be patient enough for let the to be open if I'm open enough and patient enough, that's to happen next always arrive. It arrives. It arrives. Like I am not in control of its timeline. I'm not in control of how it's going to arrive, on what ship it's going to come in. Like I'm just like I'm here and I'm ready and I'm committed to participating in life as best I can and letting life show up. So I love that that's been your experience of the last, decade or two. I think that's who we're becoming as we evolve and become more awake and aware and conscious that I'm not meant to be in charge of my life. I am the best participant that I can be. Um, and my hands are kind of off the wheel as best I can. Show
And
love.
let's take a short pause time and then we're going to come back for more conversation and open up the possibility of others participating. And but first, I want to remind everyone that this platform is supported by love donations. And it's through your love donations that we can pay the expenses of supporting the platform. And so in the email, there's a place where you can donate. Also on our website, there's a place where you can donate. And also, you can sign up to be on the mailing list. That in the email, there's a button that says join our tribe. Uh, on the website, I think it simply says sign up. And we're trying to make sure all of those things are working always. So if for some reason you have a little bit of difficulty, please let us know. And uh, you can send me an email, Marj at calledbyloveinstitute.com, and let us know any difficulties, any preferences, all of those kinds of things. And one announcement about next month, September 16th, our Starlight guest, Spotlight guest is going to be Nancy Marmolejo. And she lives in the Bay Area of San Francisco. She used to be at Unity in Tustin in the early stages of developing her presence online. And she has a huge following now. And we're still in contact. And Nancy is going to be our spotlight guest, Nancy
Mm.
Marmoleo, and September 16th. And Garth, let's move to the sharing time. And we have about 20 minutes left. And if you want to share, raise your hand. You can either use the button at the bottom that says raise hand, um, or you can use the old fashioned way, which is just wave. and and one of us hopefully will see you waving. But is there anyone that would like to ask questions or say, oh my God? These are the oh my God moments that are so significant. Oh my God, what Holly said. I've had that happen to me. So, anyone that would like to come online live? And I am looking. So far, I haven't seen any hands raised. So until hands are raised, I want to come online, Holly, and share something with you. Life by the stars. Within the last few months, astrology answers started a special site where you can get monthly daily emails that are specifically designed for your birth chart. And I signed up immediately. It's not expensive, very inexpensive, but there is a monthly charge. Astro Hub, part of Astrology Answers. And this was in my inbox this morning. Right now, Marge, the moon is in Scorpio. Now, my birth chart has my moon in Pisces as well as um, many other signs, including Venus. But right now, these are the transits, these are the changes. The moon is in Scorpio, highlighting your ninth house of adventure and big ideas. This is giving you a powerful push to explore, like asking deeper questions about your purpose. And isn't it fascinating that on this particular day, we're doing this call with you, Holly? And I asked you a question in just in chat just a couple of days ago. Even though your Pisces moon loves comfort and dreams, this intense Scorpio energy is asking you to dig beneath the surface and turn your feelings into action. Your natal Jupiter and Venus in Pisces in the first house makes you naturally optimistic and kind. But right now, the universe wants you to aim higher and think bigger. So that's just a taste of life by the stars, which I have gotten interested in only since the pandemic. I always just thought it was entertainment before then. So, any comments on that, Holly?
Well, I think I knew that we were in the Scorpio moon, but I had forgotten and I don't really know what that means in general. I love astrology and I just can't retain it. It doesn't stick in my brain. So
Yeah.
like I have
So
to redo my natal chart every year. But that feels true for my witness of you. Like I feel like you are moving into bigger things because of your wisdom and accumulation of experience. Like there's so much more still ready to emerge from you. And that makes me very excited
And
to.
that's very interesting because January is my third Saturn return,
Mm,
which is a huge thing. Huge.
yeah.
Anyway, Ross Hostetter has his hand up. So, would you bring Ross in?
Hey, Ross.
Hey, I just couldn't pass this call without saying hi to you, Molly. How are
Mm,
you?
I'm great.
Fantastic.
Thank you for being here, dear.
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of a question, we've all been on this long journey that's getting longer and longer now all the time. We've all kissed a lot of frogs, hoping that they were going to be princes and just have a lot of life experience in what you might call the transformational space.
Mhm.
So my question to you is, of all the things that you've tried and experienced, what have you found to be the most helpful to your
Mm,
personal evolution or to the evolution of all of us? Yeah.
yeah. Um, I would speak about the work I'm doing now, which obviously is my evolved contribution, and I'm offering it in the world because it helped me reclaim shadow in ways that I had not been able to reclaim before. So as this work literally arrived through me, I didn't invent it. I can say it's my innovation, certainly my IP, but um, it arrived through me because I was so committed and determined to resolve the shadow in order to be more fully here. And I'm not saying I've resolved it all. Like we are so never done. Found two new parts on Sunday. Um, so it has become the most significant work of my life, and it is reclaiming multidimensional parts and aligning with soul and amplifying creative life force and attuning to earth and cosmos. And it's really possible. Like it's we're able to do that now. We have the technology. Um, and I think the precursor to that allowed this to all arrive through me is what we spoke about early is my recognition as a young human. Like I'm living in a petri dish. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like I am on this experimental journey as a human, and everything that happens to me is of value. Like the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the left, the right, the up, the down, like it's all the same. And if I can regulate my nerves, so probably these two pieces is regulating my nervous system enough and my emotional regulation to have equanimity that allows me to be in life fully and not run and squash or deny or repress or you know um numb myself. I did a lot of numbing early in life. So as I gained that regulatory capacity, and then could be in all of life, everything, nothing in or out. It's all just life. I could be a participant. I actually have created this participatory wheel that's like the evolutionary wheel, but it's like more granular. Now I can be a participant in the petri dish and witness fully like, oh, look at that thing that's happening. I actually a number of years ago I remember being able to see something coming at me that I used to call traumatic, and it would be coming right here, like wait, I'm scared, it's gonna hurt. And I would like, but wait, there's something really useful there. What is it? And I would almost see the benefit before it got to me. And then it would get to me. Sure enough, I would have a painful reaction. But like, okay, so something really beautiful is going to emerge from this. And I would see the benefit before it happened. And then it would happen. And then I'm like, wow, that was awesome. That was so cool. I don't know if I'd do it again, but what a magnificent part of life to be able to experience that really painful thing and then come out the other side like, man, I'm so glad that happened. Um, so that had to precede me moving into my new work. And it's presence with being present with the present, as Marge said, and loving every moment of it. But the granular way we do that, and I think really critical to our ability, our capacity to be present is having regulatory capacity. So, all the mechanisms for regulating our nervous system and our emotional body are really critical. That was probably a long-winded answer to your question.
That was a fantastic answer, Holly. Really good. I'll stop because other people might have some questions, but yeah, this is a great topic.
Yeah, I
So,
love your question. Thank
yeah,
you.
I love the way that question and answer ties into heartbreak and healing as one. As one. They're two sides of the same coin,
They are.
like joy and sorrow.
Yeah.
Without the sorrow, without the joy, you would not be experiencing the sorrow.
Mhm.
Khalil Gibran.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Um, Heartbreak and healing are that same polarities. Um, Without one, you wouldn't have the other. And it's only where you are in the feeling energy, and you're talking about paying attention
Mhm.
to your feelings, your emotions. Really, really important. Uh, I want to bring Eric Hagan
Yes,
online.
Eric had a question. Yeah.
Eric Hagan.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you and to hear these voices and to see you. Um, and I just I, I loved your question, Ross, and your answer, Holly. And I'm feeling that this sense of being really present in the already okayness of who we are and what we're experiencing, and that mess is what life is about. And
Mhm.
so that once we get over our ego desire to have life not be messy, we start to then be present for what really is going on.
Yeah.
um, and to that end, I think there's something. So as I say, it feels like there's something in the zeitgeist here, and it
Mhm.
feels as though what you're describing, Holly, is definitely an individual process, but it would really benefit from the culture and the cultural norms that make or allow us to experience what's real in the moment. And I'm going to throw out a phrase I'm playing with. It's sort of like a field awareness, where
Mhm.
we're so open to everything from whatever scale, whatever stage, whatever
Mhm.
time frame, whatever. And so that there's this radical openness and vulnerability
Mhm.
to our interpenetration with life in the world and each other. And so there's this aspect that I wanted to get your feedback on, of
Mhm.
that openness as a collective experience,
Mhm.
and so what you're describing is kind of your personal engagement with this, but then how do we create a culture of this expectation and this skill building and holding each other in that kind of radical safety for that radical vulnerability.
Yeah. That's a beautiful question, Eric. Um, I don't know that I'm the person who has an answer about how do we create a cultural collective. And I so agree with you that, we can do our individual work and I can become, a fairly awake and aware and conscious and evolved human. And and that's great. And I can ripple out and have serious impact. And it's just me. And so part of why I created the Living Portal this year is because I did want to experiment with
Mhm,
creating a field of humans who could do that together. Um,
mhm,
and I, I'll just I just speak at the humility I have about what it takes for that to occur. And the beings in the room are really important because they do need to remain, they need to be committed to their own evolution and willingness to be with others in really tough dynamics. Because, you know, we all in the room know how hard that is to do with other humans. Like, we all show up with our stuff and it gets really messy and ugly and challenging. And sometimes we walk away like, what the heck was that? And other times we stay in the room like, I know this is happening and I'm just going to experience it because this is what I'm here for. And for whatever reason, I mean, I'll just be really frank. The Living Portal diminished by about 50% this year because some of the people who came into the room weren't capable of doing that. It got tough. They suffered, they got triggered, they walked away.
mhm,
And the people who remained, oh my gosh, um the experience, at least what I'm hearing is the experience was worth staying. And we did
mhm,
create a very coherent field of love and presence to
mhm,
each other. And wherever we are on our journeys and whatever the experience was that emerged, like it happened. And so on a small scale, this is a fractal, obviously.
mhm,
And we went through, this is a year long. We went through massive exploration together and deep work, and everybody worked really hard for a year. And that's a level of commitment that most humans aren't willing to make. And
mhm,
sort of my guarantee to that, if you can stick with it for a year, you're going to have some significant experience. It worked. Um, and
mhm,
just so far, Eric, maybe you know things I don't know. Like most of us aren't willing to do that. Most of us aren't willing to make that commitment to ourselves and to each other. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how do we do this on a cultural scale? I don't know. I will say that I'm what a vision the vision that is emerging through my living portal work is I'm building out an ecosystem that is much bigger than just than this big initiative, which is big enough for me right now. But there are other pieces that are emerging, like, oh, I see now that we're creating the humans who can create new innovations, new creations, who are becoming, you know, sourced creators, and we can build something from there. And so
mhm.
that's my bigger vision. I don't know. I'm in petri dish.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I would just bring up a guy named Robert Gilman and the Context Institute, and his creating the essential capacities, what he calls the essential capacities for basically the planetary era, which are uh, where he's what do we call it? He worked a quantum physicist who said that the stars can wait, the world can't.
Mhm.
And so he spent the last 40 years kind of distilling these capacities. And I'm just finding very interesting as a foundation, as a new operating system
Uh-huh.
for us to allow some of the basic ideas of psychodynamic savvy and checking in with where we are, at least on our autonomic nervous system. Um, and it might, you know, I'm just finding it really fascinating. But because it allows for us to have sort of a common language for
Mhm.
what we're all trying to do, and I'm just, but what I that's just something to potentially look at as a response to what you just asked. But I want to say personally, I'm just so resonating with that.
Mhm.
We already are there. We already are okay. We're already in the midst of this. Every step without done for love only, Marge, that it's not the purpose, it's the flow through us, into action, and just how much resistance there is for that moment by moment at times, and then it returns into flow, and it's just so. Anyway, I really was feeling the zeitgeistness of what your current kind of work is, and just how it's bubbling up, feels like all around
Mhm.
in different ways. Even
Mhm.
Otto Scharmer talking this,
Mhm.
in his recent kind of post.
Yeah.
So I just feel that you're really
Mm.
on the cusp of it, and I
Thank
really am appreciating that.
you.
And also how you get your data, how you work feels very, very true, right?
Mhm.
It's coming through. It's not the thinking mind forcing things, which is
Yeah.
the way our world's been working for so long.
Yeah.
It's kind of the apophatic mind, um, allowing things to arise, which I find so much more interesting to read when I'm reading kind of yeah,
Yeah.
an apophatic uh, writing that just
Mhm.
flows from a deeper source, from
Mhm.
silence.
Mm.
So anyway, just an appreciation, and maybe a networking
Yeah.
connection
Thank you,
for
Eric.
you
I
and
will.
others here.
Yeah, I'll check out
Eric,
Robert Gilman. I do want to just share briefly that at least some of the foundational living portal work is also based in quantum physics, because I've studied enough to be dangerous in my awareness of it. And actually, I had two quantum physicists review my work and my books, because I don't want to be spouting things that I don't really truly understand. So I went to the source and got some review, and both the books and my work really do represent quantum physics principles. So I love that so many of us are arriving there, and like, it's all one multidimensional experience. And yeah, thank you for
and
that.
we're almost out of time. And Eric Hagen, I want to tell you how important you have been in my life. You have been just an amazing, amazing gift. And I want you to come and be a spotlight guest for us. You're an architect. And are you still working as an architect?
I've retired now, Marge.
Mm.
Retired a year ago, and am devoting myself to other stuff like what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And you were an architect for the University of California and uh, led a whole campus of consciousness called the University of California through amazing and incredible programs, including some on the edge kinds of programs of building bridges. So I'm going to give you a call and send you an email, and we'll figure out a time for you to come on. Thank you.
I'm a little shy, Marge. We'll see.
I know the part of you that's not shy. So, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Holly. You've
Mm.
been an amazing guest. And uh, Eloy Mays just sent hearts to you. He's another person I would love to have on as a spotlight guest. One of the purposes of this podcast is to bring these kinds of cutting edge way showers into a resonant field where we can share with each other and speculate on how it all works together in this petri dish called consciousness. So thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you,
Much
Marge.
love, deep,
Delightful.
deep gratitude.
Thank
And
you.
send this to your list, everyone. This is the way we spread the word. The
Mm.
numbers of people on the live calls are the gifts of the ones that can do the interaction, but it goes out to hundreds of people after that,
Mm.
especially through people on this call sharing
Mm.
it with their lists. So thank you, thank you,
Marge.
thank you. And
Thanks, everybody. I love you all. Bye.